Welcome everybody. My name is Ruth Murphy and I work in the Disability Support Office or Service, the DSS in MTU Cork campus. I'm here today with my colleagues Julie and Mary from the DSS, as well as Bridie Lynch, who's an MTU student who's also a Good Start ambassador. And we're all delighted to be welcoming you to the talk tonight about the Transitions programme. So mostly it's going to be, Julie's going to be talking about the programme, who's the coordinator, and I'm going to fill in some information around the DSS. And Bridie's here as well, who's going to talk to you as a student. And Mary's kindly in the background as well from the DSS, doing the slides and doing some technical support and solving problems as well. So just to go through the agenda for the talk today, we have an hour, and like I said, I'm going to be doing the welcome and I'll be passing to Julie very shortly. Julie is going to cover the Transitions programme, and then Bridie's going to give her perspective on engaging with the Transitions programme back when she was a first year. And Julie's going to cover some resources around that the programme has developed. And then we have the final piece is around, how to access the transition support if you think that would be useful. And also the DSS supports as well, because they kind of go hand in hand. And we have time for questions at the end, and we plan to finish at 7 at the latest. So I'm going to pass you over to Julie now to take over and talk about what the transition support is. Thanks, Julie.
Thank you, Ruth. It's very informative. So my job is specifically to provide transition support, and that's designed to support the transition needs of autistic students. So the project is funded by a project called SOAR, which is an interinstitutional program run by the government. And they funded me to work part-time, specifically as the transition coordinator. I've got a very long title, Transition Program Coordinator, Disability Support Service, but I usually just say transition support. And my job is to specifically support you as you move into the higher education environment for first year. And I see myself as someone that offers guidance to navigate the first year environment, which includes the physical environment, the things that you do like learning and communicating within that environment. So I suppose I like to think of the concept of what to expect, and these are some of the things that we offer on the transition program. So one of the major things is one-to-one support, which is what I offer, and people can choose to meet me once a week, once a month, every 2 weeks, once a semester, whatever they want. And I see myself as sort of the knowledge translator. I'm there to ask any question you want to help you get where you want to go in first year or find the information that you need. We offer workshops as well around specific topics. For example, we did the college prep workshop and I focused on procrastination as a topic and helping to delve into that issue that pops up for people when they're trying to study. We also developed some resources around the autistic communication style, so help people feel like they're getting the information that they need around certain topics. And then we can collaborate with such agencies like Aspect to help you, I suppose, get the most out of your first year experience. And usually for people that's getting through to first year and accessing, moving forward in their course. And then we can also help people, or I can help people link with other student services within MTU. So we can link with the academic success coaches. Sometime last year we linked with the maths tutoring service. So there's lots of ways that by connecting with us, we can help you sort of negotiate the higher education environment. And I definitely see it as working together and discussing what suits you. It's not one size fits all. It's very much an ongoing discussion on trying to find what you need to help you get through first year, really, which is everybody's goal. Is like, we'll get through first year and then we'll think about the next bit. Again, like I said, I provide specific one-to-one support, but it doesn't have to be in person if that's not how you like to work. I prefer one-to-one, but I know lots of people might prefer online, and they might prefer by a phone call or even by email. I had one student last year who did his needs assessment by email. We just made an appointment and we communicated that way. So really respectful and mindful of how people like to communicate. And that's like I think one thing that we promote, that we're really mindful of adapting and working with your communication style and how you like to receive information. And I've just noted here, I think the main themes are sort of working together, guidance, solutions, some advice around sort of maybe how to connect with someone or problem solve if you're having an issue with a lecturer or a student colleague, maybe on a project. Lots of ideas and suggestions when things crop up for you. And these are examples, I've just put examples of conversation topics that came up with students last year. So these are the most common conversation topics I have with students, is getting to know the campus and finding, the bits and pieces of the campus that are relevant to you, learning about how the university system works is quite different to secondary school or other education environments. It's got a very different kind of structure, and there's lots of different processes that are part of the first year experience. I often talk to students about practicing or learning how to communicate with their lecturers, and often that's by email, and sometimes we practice how to email students or lecturers, and what kind of things they need you to say to get the information you need. And then a big theme is finding the right people to support you when stuff crops up. Sometimes that can be linking, like I said, with student services, or sometimes it can be linking with a counsellor, or finding the right maths tutor for you. And then finally, I frequently talk to students about using their needs assessment around getting the exam supports or the learning supports that they need. Sometimes people aren't comfortable sharing what's going on for them with their lecturers, so we talk through what they'd like to share and the way that they can do that, that makes them feel comfortable. And then finally, where we meet. So now that things are returning to let's say normal, or even before COVID, I used to meet students on our campus. So for example, if you weren't on the Bishopstown campus, I'd go to Cork School of Music or Crawford to meet you. And I often did that in between lectures or at lunchtime, or in the evening, or in the after, the last lecture you had. So it didn't sort of impact on your schedule. And again, if you prefer online, we can do a video chat. My office is based in the Bishopstown campus, so I'd either be working from there or here. And I have no difficulty chatting by phone or by email. So definitely we want to promote that this is a flexible service, and it's about fitting with how you want to use it. So actually, if you want to use transition support, you can bring it up at your needs assessments meeting, or your needs assessor will probably bring it up. You can email anytime during the first year of the semester to say, actually, I heard about this at the start of the year. I didn't think it was for me, but I'd like to use it now. Or at any time you can email me directly and say, hey, what's going, I'd like to link in, how do I do it? And essentially it's just, a quick email and we can link you in. And it doesn't have to be something that you have to do all the time. It can even be just 1 or 2 chats to get you going. So that's how you get started. So Bridie and I worked together in her first year of uni, and she's kindly agreed to come along to share about that experience and talk about what she got from that. And I got to meet Bridie, and I really enjoyed that experience. So I think Bridie, you're up now to talk about what was helpful about transition support.
Oh yeah, so hi guys, I am Bridie, and because it says Bridget on there, but that's because it's my official CIT account and my official name is Bridget, but everyone calls me Bridie, so you know me as Bridie. So I am a 3rd year agri biosciences student on the Bishopstown campus, and like Julie said, I did use the transition year the transition scheme in first year. So basically what happened was that I got my needs assessment done, and then Julie invited me over to the assistive technology unit just for a meeting to talk about what I like to be, what my aims for the year, such as my aims were to get a good studying technique, to know all about campus, such as the services and joining societies, and also just in terms of getting the bus by myself, if I ever want to go to the city or to my aspect meetings, or just communicational skills, understanding social cues and sarcasm. Now, the first thing is, and just to mention, to get into the assistive technology unit, you have to go to the card office, the reprographic center, and give them your student card and say, I'm on the DSS, can I have access to the assistive technology unit? And they will see it's on file, so they'll let you allow access, and access to the assistive technology unit is free, so there's no charges or extra charges or anything. As I said, you can be yourself. It's quite re-energizing. You're in a quiet little room. You can use sensory toys, and you can just discuss your feelings. It's pretty good, and it's really good in terms of improving your communicational skills. While I'm very independent, I live in student accommodation, so this is not my house. This is actually my student accommodation room. I also I'm quite independent in terms of ordering food and budgeting and everything. But one thing I really struggled with is social cues and sarcasm. So myself and Julie worked on that, and just engagement with the college as well, which was the top of my priority, because back in secondary school I didn't really come out of my shell loads, but then I was like to myself, when I go to college, I'm going to try to get out of my shell loads. So I did, and because of the transition year transition scheme, I am a Good Start ambassador for 2 years. I'm a DSS voluntary advisor, and also I know a lot of people around campus because of societies and because of making connections on LinkedIn, all because of the transition scheme. And also the most important thing is don't be embarrassed to have a disability, especially like having autism is a superpower, man. Like I can like write a whole thesis as to why it's such a great advantage to me, because I wouldn't be the person I am today without it. So be proud to be autistic, because it's a beautiful thing. And just a few other things too, just tips for autistic people at MTU. The disability service is brilliant. They meet your criteria. You get brilliant exam supports. Just to highlight that, you have to register with via a link on the DSS website to get your exam supports. But I think it's changed this year because of being remote. So you just tell your lecturer straight away if you need extra time. Tell your lecturer straight away you have a disability. There is no point in hiding it, because you are going to struggle if you don't like tell them straight away. And they are very easy to help you and guide you. Also, make a big effort with your work as well, because once the lecturers know that you make a big effort, they will help you. Like I remember last year I was struggling with lab reports, because like the lab reports in first year to second year kind of changed in terms of like structure and everything. So my grades kind of went down a small bit with the lab reports. So I just emailed my lecturer, and she was so happy to help me, because I put so much effort into my lab report, but she helped me guide me towards the right direction of like, oh, you're missing these points, Bridget, or you're missing that point. And because of that, I went up from like 53% to like 91%. And also just a few other things too that I also the Good Start ambassadors. I mentioned I'm on the Good Start ambassadors as well. So I said to my Good Start team in my interview, we need to get more DSS students engaged with the Good Start program and the Good Start page. So I'm just going to put the Instagram and Facebook account for the Good Start. And the Good Start is basically like a student run scheme in which students from across the 4 campuses in MTU help first years, and all students, but predominantly first years, settle into college, answer their questions, and just like help them to interact with their classmates and all that kind of stuff. We also have a couple of competitions as well running too, so please follow our Facebook and Instagram, and you might win something if you get into the competitions. Just before I leave off, just little things that I learned that I wish I kind of learned sooner when I was in first year. To put money on your card, you have to go to the shop and the canteen to put money on your card. To get your LEAP card, it's the student union office, which is upstairs in the next building. And it's a €10 fee on the website to have your student LEAP card. The 3 main bus routes are the 208, the 205, and the 220. They all kind of stop near around MTU. And just another thing is that join societies, because I met loads of friends because of my societies. And don't worry, you will find your friends and you will find your group, and like they don't have to be the same as you. Like my best friends in college, we're nowhere similar. Like we only became friends because we're all into farming, because I'm a cattle farmer and they're cattle farmers too, so we talk about cattle the whole time. So I think that's everything.
Hopefully, even if people have questions afterwards, I'm sure they can connect with you as a Good Start ambassador, maybe, or even with myself. Yep.
Thanks, guys. Anyway, have a lovely evening.
See you soon. Thank you. So I think the next slide is just a comment from another student that I worked with last year. And again, he was just saying that he found having that one-to-one support really helpful. Again, we're really mindful that that's not everyone's style of accessing information, or even the idea of going to talk to someone and talking about how what's challenging isn't something that everyone is comfortable with. So in line with that, we're trying to look at what different ways to provide information to support people to access information. So we've developed some resources as well to support the idea of people connecting with the university system and the environment. I think we're going to talk about that a little bit later. I think Ruth and I are up for questions next, I think. Yep, this is my email as well, and you're welcome to email me anytime. I do work part-time, so I won't be on all of the time, but I'm definitely happy to email you back. And as I always say, no question is too big, too small, too strange, or too silly. If it's something that's on your mind, I'm happy to try and help you find a solution or an answer, or the person that can. Do we have a waiting list if we want to work one mark? Not currently, no, because we're just starting.
Yeah, so Julie only works with new students. We'd have other staff who work with first years to postgrads, so, but Julie specifically works for new students. The only thing is, and we're going to cover it in a little while, is just that you have to have your needs assessment really first before kind of meeting Julie. But we're very busy as well at the moment. So like, we're very happy to take, if people have small questions or have a query and want to be pointed in the right direction, there's no problem in sending us an email to, and we can come back to you.
The needs assessments, I see it as sort of the beginning of your support story. So often linking with me will be part of discussed at the needs assessment, and then you'll get an offer of an appointment. I'll be told that you've decided to access the supports, and I'll email you, and that's how we connect. Yeah. So the needs assessment is the beginning of the story, isn't it? And they're coming in the next week. People are being emailed now to start them.
Myself, Julie meets a lot of students from the autistic spectrum, but I also meet students as well. And if people are based down in the Crawford at the School of Music, usually Jessica, who's the learning support tutor there, would sometimes meet students. But then you can still, engage with Julie on the one-to-one, the continuing support, if you want the one-to-one support to keep going. But because we have so many students, we have to kind of spread it out a bit. Poor Julie would be there until March trying to meet everybody probably. So yeah, we try and meet you as quickly as possible. Do you want to talk about the resources? So if people don't want a one-to-one support, there is other options.
There is other options. So we put together something called the Prepare Guide. So we're mindful of people moving into a new environment, that entry information is helpful. And actually we did a bit of a research project on this last year. So we got students on the spectrum to give us advice on designing this guide and how to communicate more effectively with new students moving into the environment. So this is the outcome of that project. And we've chosen certain topics which we think are helpful. We're always open as well to hearing about what other topics are helpful, and we've used that concept of learning what to expect, and we focus on the new learning systems, the physical environment. We also have some happening, I think, tomorrow and Monday on learning a bit more about the physical environment, and I suppose we're conscious of sometimes all of the detail that's helpful when you're learning on the spectrum, so we support with that detail. We're also mindful that there's lots of different food options at CIT, so we help you signpost them, find out where you can eat if you bring your own lunch, all those kind of things. So we support with tours and information around that. And then I suppose a big part of coming to university is communicating as an adult or as an independent learner with your lecturers. So we've provided some information on that as a skill. And that's something that I often work with students on, because you're sort of communicating in a more, I suppose, professional manner, practicing that skill. And if that's something that you want to work one-to-one, use the resources for, or just email me about, I'm happy to do that as well. We also have a student review, which Bridie did before as well. So that's part of the Prepare Guide. And we've given some detailed information on how your needs assessment works, which we will, I think, go through again towards the end of the presentation. And then we talk about what the one-to-one support is, so that you can get more detail on how, or if it was something that you would like. And then we've given some tips on planning for each week, because that's a big part, I think, of higher education, that skill of figuring out what you want to do and how you're going to do it. So we're really conscious that that's something that maybe a skill you mightn't have developed in secondary school or your previous learning environment, and we're aware that that's something that we can help with, the organisation and planning aspects of your assignments, and even just organising your leisure time, that they can take a bit of time to get into a routine to do that. So we're happy to help with that as well.
There is a wide range of support services, not just the DSS, available to students in MTU. I know we covered it in some of the student supports, the orientation and the parents' night, but we can't emphasize enough that there is so many supports out there. Usually the problem is that students are a bit time poor. Like, students have seen their timetables now and they're quite busy, between Mondays and Thursdays especially, and can often have full timetables. But what we would say is it's really important to engage with, you can target a few supports that are kind of key to you for helping you, and kind of prioritize them as well, and consider them as part of your college experience, and the same as a class basically. So for example, the Academic Learning Centre offers free subject classes, in a lot of main subjects. things like maths, accounting, programming, science subjects, things that come up all the time for first years, and they're delivered by lecturers. You should be getting a timetable soon, but they're running remote and in-person classes as well. With going online, it's been great. There used to be kind of more group classes, but now there's more opportunities for one-to-one. So again, they can go at your own pace, but they are delivered by lecturers. They really know your course. It's great. There's also a thing called academic success coaching, which is work with you around study skills, kind of approaches to study, and kind of being successful in that. I'm not going to go through the whole list, because what I would say is that all of these services are available on the mycit.ie website. So that's the kind of student version of the MTU Cork website, and that's all the links to the timetable, your web for students, your email, they're all there as well. But all of the services are there too, so you can find information there. Just to mention, if you do need financial help, there is the Student Assistance Fund, that's managed by the Access Service, and the Access Service also supports anybody who's come through here, mature students, is something that you can apply for on top of SUSI, for example. If you need more financial help with the cost of going to college, you can cover rent, costs of materials, transport, all of that. And there's obviously other supports like counselling service, which can be very important, because it's great that there is a free counselling service if you want to talk to somebody who can talk to you if you're having any issues in your life, or and as Bridie was mentioning, clubs and societies, which are great ways of meeting people outside your course, connecting with people with the same interests as you, and there's other supports there as well. And then just to kind of say about the DSS, so we have a lot of information about the DSS. I know I emailed out just to say our recordings of things like the orientation. We have a playlist there to get to know the supports in more detail, as well as our student guide. So there's a lot of information on our website. And we have a lot of supports. So the supports are quite wide, because we have a very wide range of students who apply for supports with us. The top ones that students would generally access are learning support, where students would meet one-to-one with the tutor and they develop academic skills. So things like note-taking, writing, researching, and that often goes hand in hand with assistive technology. So that's a name for software or equipment that again helps you with studying. So that could be reading software or dictation software. You speak into the computer and it types up for you. So again, we're trying to kind of build up your skills and be kind of independent, giving you skills that you can use in college, but also when you kind of leave college and work. And as Bridie was mentioning about exam support, so typical exam supports might be things like extra time in exams. And we try and use technology as well, rather than person support. So again, maybe reading software instead of a reader, and typing instead of writing, a scribe, for example. We will go through that with your needs assessment. So as we were mentioning, if you want to access these supports as a student, as well as Julie's transition support, you must apply to the DSS. So on the next slide, these are the steps. I know a lot of you here already have maybe done these steps already and are waiting for your needs assessment, but just to go over it in case anybody hasn't. So there's an online application form on our website. You need to fill that in and make sure you click submit. Usually a lot of students may have put in their documents like the evidence of their diagnosis or evidence of what supports they got in school or previous education into their CAO application or their DARE application. So we actually already have that, so you don't need to send it on to us again. If you didn't put that through your CAO application, you do need to send us documents by email, but Mary is emailing anybody where we don't have documents or we might need specific documents from you. And generally, once those things, two things happen, students would go to classes, and we encourage students to sign up to the DSS Canvas module and DSS sessions as well, and different training and events during the semester. But we have started emailing students already about your needs assessment. So that email goes to your student, your MTU student email. So it's really important to make sure you're checking your email every day, getting rid of all the stuff that you don't think is relevant as well, because I know there's a lot of emails that go into the student email. And check your email, because you'll be sent an email from the person who's doing your needs assessment, and there'll be a booking link in that, and you go into the booking calendar and find a time that suits. If you can't find a time that suits you, it's important maybe get onto the email that person or email back the email that you got the email about and let people know when you are free, because there may be other times, maybe not in the booking calendar, that are available, but you just need to let somebody know. Unfortunately, you're going to be waiting a few weeks because of the numbers that are applying to us. And as I was mentioning, it's important to maybe while you're waiting, you can feel free to email us at any time with any sort of small questions or anything like that, just because I know sometimes people get a bit anxious while they're waiting for the supports to get set up. But there is lots of supports there, and we will be emailing students about the instructions. Now you're kind of up on Canvas and you know how that works more or less, that you can sign up to the DSS Canvas module because there's a lot of resources there. Just to mention, I suppose this is kind of quite important, and I know we've mentioned it in our other events, that we have to operate a strict confidentiality policy, and that applies across an MTU as well. So GDPR, the data protection legislation, means that the university deals with the student directly. This also includes the fact that we can only really communicate with the student with their MTU email, not their personal email. We can make exceptions from time to time, but really it's your MTU email, and that's why it's so important to check it, that you need to be checking with. And what that means is under GDPR, we can't disclose any information about a student, like any information about a student, to any third party. And that includes parents, lecturers, support workers, anybody, unless we have the student's consent. And that has to come in writing each time. So we can't generally take a blanket consent to say, oh, copy my mum into every single email. We can't really do that. And this is because our relationship is with the student. But that doesn't mean that we don't say to the parents, no, we can't talk to you. But sometimes we might only be able to talk to you generally. What we would say is that the changing role is really around that you can encourage and support the student, again, with engaging with us or engaging with the relevant supports, the MTU supports that are there, and kind of trying to develop those good habits. So like checking the student's email every day, getting rid of some of the stuff that's not relevant, and kind of keeping an eye and the important stuff, because the lecturers will email you changes and important information about assessments, and so does the college. It's a good idea, again, to get into the habit of downloading your notes from on Canvas. Don't leave them up there, save them to your computer or your PC or whatever, and get into the habit of doing that every week, because it's a bit of a mammoth task kind of towards the end of the semester, leaving that all to the end. It takes a while. So again, these good habits, so encouraging that. Also, in terms of, because I know there's some parents here, encouraging the student to communicate directly with lecturers. So again, not doing things for the student, but helping them to do that. And I suppose that's where Julie can come in as well. As Julie was mentioning, she can advise on, we have some templates as well in that prepare guide about how, and we're developing more templates about how to ask for help with lecturers. Lecturers are very used to getting emails from students. It's what they expect. So there's no problem there about emailing a lecturer about something, a small question, a big question, about assignments, about a procedure, and they expect that with emails. And just be aware of social media use in college. There usually is class WhatsApp groups and everything like that, and Snapchat groups or WhatsApp groups as well. Sometimes there could be an awful lot of stuff in that isn't relevant, but just kind of be aware there's quite a lot of use of social media in college. And I can see there's a comment there about, autistic children can find it very difficult to express their needs and difficulties. And this is, again, where parents can help and support their son or daughter while they're in college, about kind of talking to them to go, okay, where is the difficulty? What's coming up? And sometimes it can be putting together a list or putting together questions. So then the student can ask those questions as well. So again, like we covered, talked about asking for help, and also the practical stuff around supporting students around planning their day, getting to college, even managing their online lectures, using the calendar in your phone, managing time, because, we can all let time get away from us. So thinking about that. So I know at the moment there's a real mix between online and maybe coming on campus at the moment for a lot of students. And we're trying, you're trying to get into structure maybe for the week and everything. And I know Julie's trying to develop stuff around that as well, about kind of getting organized for each week. And just to be aware, attendance may be mandatory, especially for classes that are like science labs or ones that are kind of more practical classes that attendance may be essentially compulsory, and it can be difficult. There might be assessment included in that class. So if a student misses a day, now, like, people miss a day for lots of different reasons. That's okay. We'd usually recommend that students would email their lecturers just to kind of say why they were missing. And then if they missed an important assessment, they can find out what they needed to do. And also then encouraging students to kind of join things like clubs and societies. They're a great way of like trying new stuff. College is all about trying new things. And we did talk about don't forget to allow for mistakes. Balancing your college, your social life, and even work as well takes time. It doesn't happen overnight as well. So email addresses, because you can email myself, Laura, who's the disability officer, and Mary at the other side of the DSS email. And that is confidential unless there's a health and safety risk. And also Julie's there as well. So we'll just finish up there. And thanks very much for coming.
Thanks, guys. See you in the next couple of weeks.